right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the lead pastor and executive director here. This is Carrie. She is the associate executive director here. So good to be with you all on this warm Saturday evening. And welcome to all of you joining us online. We're glad you're here, glad you're part of this community, so make yourselves at home. All right, y'all, just to give you a little reminder, this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there's always one thing we don't do in this community. So if you're new here, you're going to learn it very quickly. On the count of three, you can shout out all four words. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame, but Carrie's going to tell you some things coming up that you might want to know about.
Hello and welcome. If tonight is your first night with us, we're super glad that you're here. Connect with one of us after service and we'll get you connected with one of our welcome bags. Inside the welcome bag, you'll find some fresh roasted Wagon coffee from the extraordinary Tammy Kennedy and her team at Wagon Coffee, as well as some free swag and a meeting schedule. If you flip that meeting schedule over, you'll find a QR code, and if you scan that QR code, you'll get connected to all the different events that we have going on here at Free. You can download our app from that QR code. You also can get a live meeting schedule, because it feels like every week we're adding new meetings and people are reaching out to us for events. And you can also directly get to our website, which you can go to our events page, which will matter in a minute, so pin that thought. And then we also have coming up on June 18th, it's a Thursday. We have said this before, this is not your typical grandma's potluck, but we're going to have a cooler version of a potluck because it's going to be all of us. And a lot of time, right? I think it's
your
cool.
Grandma's welcome to come
your
too.
grandma's cool too and all, but I just think
have her bring a lasagna or a casserole.
I just think that we are going to have a cooler, a cooler potluck. But that being said, it would be great if you can bring a dish. You are not required to. Do not prohibit that from coming. It's an important way to connect in the community. It's going to be on Thursday night, June 18th at 6 p.m. in the cafe. You do not need to RSVP. Just come, bring some friends, and get to know others in the community. Which brings me to my other very important message, because one of the things that makes Free so amazing is because most of us walk into this building searching for belonging, searching for verification that we're not alone and that we're not too broken to start over and to feel like we belong somewhere. And that's one thing that we love to strive to really hone in on. And what we're looking for is we're looking to revamp our volunteer team, because sometimes that scariest thing is walking through that front door and having a friendly face greet you, whether it's just handing them a welcome bag, staying after service. Sometimes it's receiving a phone call, because again, Ryan and I can only call so many people back, but to have community around you, to be like, hey, can I give someone your number where you can call and reach out? It's an important way for us to get connected, and for all of you guys have such an important role to play here and to help other people feel connected. So if you would like to stay connected, help others, and be part of that belonging that we do so well here, we're going to hold an event on Saturday, June 27th. It's going to be right before this service from 3:30 to 4:30. Yes, there will be snacks, but you'll find out some more information about how to be of service, whether it's just a general greeter, whether it's working in the cafe. There's so many different ways. So if you want to make some new friends, if you want to be of service, come talk to me, come talk to Ryan. You can also find the event on our events page. So again, that on the back of that QR code, you can scan that, go to our events page. You can register, and then that way we can stay in connection. But really hope you join us. I think it's really important to be of service and give back what was so freely given to us. And that, my friend, is all I got for you.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Carrie.
You are welcome.
All right, y'all. The way we get started in this community on a Saturday night is with celebrations. We start with the good. We lift up the good. Maybe you're here and you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or whatever the new thing in your life of recovery is, new jobs, new homes, new babies, whatever it is, we celebrate it all here, and God joins with us in the celebrations. It's always a very important and profound part of our time together. We take 3 minutes for this. David will have a mic on this side. Amber will have a mic on this side. If you're online, drop your celebrations in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments, and we will join with you there. This 3 minutes is yours.
I'm going to celebrate my daughter's wedding next weekend. It'll be 7. It's been 7 weeks since Chris is gone, and 4 weeks since my brother-in-law's been gone. So it's going to be awesome to be with family and being able to have some celebration in our family.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, we'll celebrate it.
My name is Jim, and I'm an alcoholic. How do I put this? Amanda and I met in recovery, and after a couple of years, she said yes. And we're going to get married in recovery on the 19th.
Beautiful. Congratulations, Jim and Amanda. You said it beautifully, Jim. That's exactly how you say it. Uh-huh. Oh, come on. I know we got some more celebrations in the house. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Craig. Tomorrow I'll have 13 months sober from methamphetamines.
Yeah, way to go, Craig. 13 months. Doing the deal.
What's
Hold
up,
the
everybody?
baby, too. I love
My name is Austin.
Yeah.
I found sobriety here. It must have been over 3 years ago. And then I relapsed harder than ever and went back out and almost didn't make it back. But for the grace of God and the love of Christ, I did. I came back in here, and I think you were baptizing like a bunch of people out here, and it just had like a spiritual experience in this room, seeing that many lives get changed. I was a single bachelor living downtown in Rhino, and now I have 3 kids, one of my own, 2 stepkids. I live in Highlands Ranch, and my wife and I just celebrated our 1-year anniversary.
Way to go, Austin. Good stuff, brother.
I'm Colin. I'm really excited to figure out at 4 a.m. this morning at a chapel at a hospital that the root of everything getting in the way of the life I want is resentment, and I don't have to hold on to it anymore.
Yeah. We'll celebrate that. Glad to hear it, Colin.
Hi. Hi, my name is Melissa, and our son celebrated 14 months sober this week.
All right. Congratulations to him. That's a proud mama right there, huh?
My name is Catherine, and I celebrated 1,008 days clean today.
1,008 days. Way to go, Catherine.
My name's Tony, and I have a year of sobriety today, and I just got released from prison 3 weeks ago.
All right, 1 year, Tony, and release. Glad you're here, brother. Thank you, David and Amber. Oh, by the way, was anyone at the Serenity Stables event today? Woo-hoo, yeah, congratulations to Serenity Stables. They're doing some incredible work.
That's awesome. It was also a very heavy day today.
Yeah. Do you want to say a word about that before we jump into online
I would
celebration?
love you to share about Austin, and I'll share the next part.
Yeah, so today was, this morning, some of you were there. It was Austin Rapp's Celebration of Life service over at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. And yeah, the truth is, I know some of y'all know this, we're losing a lot of people. In fact, the year we started free in 2018, I said that year I did 6 funerals of people that died of this disease of alcoholism or drug addiction. They were all under the age of 30. In the last 12 months, we've done 6 funerals. And I know you have some more news to share, but holding the Rapp family in prayer. And it's already turned us into this. I know this is a time of celebrating, but it's always why it's so important to celebrate in this community, because we get those highs. We get 1,000 days clean and sober. We get 1 year and being released. We get all the celebrations that happen here, coming back and wondering if you're going to get another chance. And not everyone gets another chance, and it's why we have to celebrate together.
yeah, it felt like it would be inauthentic to come up here and act like it was all
Yeah,
perfect.
it's been a heavy day.
But you do a great job showing up, so thank you. So I wanted to let you know, and with permission, I was given that Abby, who was in our cafe, she reached out a couple of weeks ago and said, confidentially, please keep it between us for now, but my brother is really struggling with alcohol. He's in ICU, he's struggling. She did call me today, and like during the funeral we were at, so oftentimes these come in pairs.
Yeah.
And I called her back, and she said that his life will be ending. He's on life support, and they're doing some final rites. Hard stuff for the family, and Abby's really having a hard time. So I was given permission to share that with you. And Christine is Abby's mom, and she's really asking for us to come alongside and pray for them to get through this time. It was pretty sudden. Abby's really struggling, so to send and show some love and prayers to that family.
Yeah. Yeah. Prayers for them. And Abby or Christine, if you're watching tonight, our hearts are with you. And yeah. Well, shall we join our online people and celebrate with them? I have a feeling there's going to be some good ones. You want the first one?
Evan says, another week sober, 77 days now.
Way to go, Evan. Happy 77 days. Debbie says, hey, I'm celebrating Tyler, spending the day in Elizabeth and doing God's work and the work of Free. I am just so proud of him. We're proud of Tyler too, Debbie. Yes. We'll celebrate Tyler. He's a good one. He's a good one.
He was out there giving pamphlets and schedules around with tears in his eyes. So thank you, Tyler.
He's a good dude. He's a good one.
Melissa says, just started a new challenging job, and it's going great so far. I'm in the very beginning of my recovery journey.
Way to go, Melissa. We'll celebrate that. Jen says, celebrating 862 days clean, and someone very close to me finally getting sober and going to rehab. Also celebrating getting to see my family on the East Coast and going on a beach vacation at the end of the month. Jen, we'll celebrate all of it. Have fun on the beach.
Hey, Felicia says, I am 36 days sober.
36 days. Way to go, Felicia. Oh, since you're watching, Felicia, I still have your baptism certificate on my desk. So next time you're here, get that. All right, Sarah says, celebrating that my son called me for the first time in many months. He asked me how to make that bomb-grilled PBJ.
That's
What
cute.
is that?
We need to
the
know.
bomb-grilled PBJ, and I used that I used to make when he was little.
Cute.
We'll celebrate that, Sarah. The bomb-grilled PB&J. All right, thank you, Tammy. All right, y'all, we're kicking off a new series. We're going to spend time talking about God shots for the next June and July. So this series is called God Shots. Yeah, that subtitle's true, isn't it? If you know, you know. So how often have you said, or maybe you've heard others say, something like, well, God just showed up. I mean, I was in this particular circumstance or walking through this particular thing, and it was like God just showed up, which always sounds good. It sounds spiritual, sounds holy, but maybe God didn't just show up. Maybe you just showed up. Because God's been there the whole time. God is everywhere in every moment, and sometimes we're actually aware of it. So this summer, for the next 2 months, all of June and all of July, in this series, I hope we grow in our awareness of the God who is always breathing life, and oftentimes it's experienced in the most ordinary moments. So let's just take a moment before we begin. And I want to invite you to put one hand on your chest, put the other hand on your belly, and just breathe. Not just normal breaths, but those big, deep. Yeah, just breathe for a moment with one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. And did you know for thousands of years in the Christian tradition, they have been participating in practices of reflection, meditation, silence, breathing. Our ancient Hebrew ancestors, they believed that there was something divine about our breath. So just take a moment and invite the spirit of the universe, the God who made all things, into your breathing. And sometimes God feels distant. And in those moments when God feels distant, I think God is sometimes saying back to us, like, dude, seriously? I gave you breathing. I can't get any closer than that. So did you know in the Old Testament, the ancient Hebrew people, they believed that God was always breathing life into everything, that there was this explosive energy happening and it was giving life to everything around it. And they had a word for this. And y'all do know how much I love words. We're going to go deep into some words tonight. But they had a word for this. They called this ruach. Say that word with me, ruach. Ruah, an ancient Hebrew word, literally translates as spirit, wind, breath of life. Did you know in the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible, it is used, that word alone, 400 times. It's how they described what was happening. Because for them, for the ancient Hebrew people, everything was God-breathed. Everything was spiritual. I mean, hanging out with friends, eating, dying, working, everything in between, everything was spiritual. They didn't have the physical world and the spiritual things over here. Everything was considered to be spiritual. They understood Ruah to be as wide as the universe, powerful enough even to sustain the stars, but they also believed that it was as personal and as intimate as the breath you just took. Yeah, are you aware of the divine breath? Are you aware of that divine energy? And I think the trick is, at least in the modern world, the trick is, can we slow down enough? Can we slow down enough so that our awareness actually has a chance to grow? Because it's happening everywhere, all the time, all around us. Are we aware of it? Last Saturday, I told you of this experience I had in Hawaii when Tammy and I were there a few weeks ago. The experience of a shark being in the water, circling me, the shark that I couldn't see, but she could see it because she was on shore. Yeah, that experience. I want to share with you another experience that I had while in Hawaii a few weeks ago. And I promise you, I'm not going to spend the next few weeks preaching on my experiences in Hawaii. This will be the last one, maybe. But I had this experience, and I want to share it with you. Danny was an employee at the hotel where we were staying for part of our trip. And Danny was born and raised on the Hawaiian Islands, so he's never left. He's been there his entire life. Danny managed the pool area of this hotel that we were staying at for part of the time. And Danny was also one of the most spiritual beings that I've ever encountered. Dude just had spiritualness like seething out of his body. Every morning I would go down with my cup of coffee and I would have a conversation with Danny and he'd share his wisdom with me and we became fast friends. And on this particular morning, I go down with my cup of coffee and I said, Danny, you're from here. We don't have any plans today. What shall we do on this beautiful island? And without missing a beat, Danny says, Ryan, having no agenda, it's a beautiful thing. Because today you get to pay attention to the divine surprises. And I said, oh, I like words. I like those. I've never heard those words put together. Divine surprises, what is that? And he tells me more about divine surprises. And I said, Danny, I'm going to try to pay attention to that today. And so we went about our day. We had a very relaxing day. I didn't think much of it. But you do know when you start to build that awareness, something just shifts, even if it's slightly. That evening, Tammy and I, we wanted to go watch the sunset at this restaurant that was just a short walk from the hotel. So right before sunset, we go to this restaurant. And we get to the front, and we ask for a table, and the hostess says to us, I'm sorry, we don't have any tables available, but you can sit at the bar. So she walks us to the bar. Now, I'm 13 years clean and sober. I do not make it a practice in my life still to spend time at a bar, but that's where we sat that evening, and I ordered I think it was a $13 mocktail, because apparently juice and a little bit of water is very, very expensive. We're sitting there for a few minutes, and within a few minutes of us being there, Larry and Lisa sat next to us, and we'd never met Larry and Lisa. Didn't know them from Adam. And really, that was their names, Larry and Lisa. We made some small talk together, and we got to know each other just a little bit. And we found out that they were there celebrating because Lisa just beat cancer. She went through a long, strenuous battle, and she got the all-clear test, and so they were there celebrating. And at some point in the conversation, Lisa says, well, not to get too religious, but thank God. And I don't remember what she said after that, but I remember what Tammy said. Tammy said, oh, no, don't worry, because Ryan's actually a pastor. And I'm thinking, here we go, honey, you blew my cover. Because you do know, when that line gets dropped, well, like one of two things happens. It's either an automatic conversation stopper, and people straighten up and they're like, I'm sorry, I dropped the F-bomb. I don't usually do that. No, they try to act all prim and proper. Or it opens up this can of worms, and sometimes it gets like really messy, and it's the worst when you're on a plane, because on that tube you can't really go anywhere, and you're just stuck in this conversation, and sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. But on this particular day, it was a beautiful can of worms that happened. It was a beautiful moment because God is everywhere in every moment. And they said to us, really, where are you a pastor? And we began telling them all about you. All about Free Recovery Community here in Denver. And Lisa starts to cry. And I thought, uh-oh, what do we say? And then Lisa and Larry began to tell us how they just recently lost their son to a fentanyl overdose. And for the next hour to hour and a half, we talked about God and recovery and loss and messiness and how I got sober and how I stay sober. And I look back at that experience, and I would ask you, I mean, was that God just showing up in that ordinary moment? Or was it just a coincidence? We just happened to be at the right place at the right time? Or was it something else? I mean, is it possible that in that moment, I was just a bit more aware of the breath of life, the divine energy that is always flowing? In that moment, is it possible that I was brushing up against Ruah, spirit, wind, breath, the life source? Is it possible in that moment did I slow down enough to pay attention to the divine surprise, the same one that Danny spoke of just hours before that? You see, God shots are everywhere in your midst. They're happening all the time. They're the most ordinary moments, and are you aware of it? And see, sometimes those divine surprises, they will be experienced in the rushing wind of Ruah. Judy and Steve are here. Judy sent me an email this week of her God shot, because last week I invited you all to email me your God shots. Judy had no clue what the theme of tonight. She was telling me this story last week, and I said, would you email me that? And so she sent me this email. Judy, I hope it's okay if I share this email. She told me I could last week if she emailed it to me. Judy and Steve just lost Chris just a couple of months ago, back in April, to this brutal disease of addiction. We did the celebration of life service here at Free. And then this thing happened. Check it out. Here's the email. The day after Christopher's celebration of life, a small group of his friends came by the house. They sat in the backyard with the family to talk and share stories about Chris. After they played a few rounds of cornhole, I asked everyone to circle up and say a prayer and share out anything else they would like to say. My 5-year-old grandson was the last to share how much he loved Unc Chris and the fun they had together. As we dropped hands, a huge gust of wind, ruach, a huge gust of wind came down our street and over the backyard. It lifted just past our fence. We all said, Chris. We knew it was a sign that he loved us and wanted to tell us he was okay. 2 other friends were getting out of their car at the time and felt the wind. As they came out the back door, they asked us if we felt the wind. We all felt Chris and the God shot sent to all of us. And this photo was attached to the email. Yeah, see, in that moment, on that day, they all experienced ruach, the wind. Sometimes it's a rushing wind, and they all experienced it together on that day. Sometimes it's a rushing wind. Sometimes it's more of a gentle wind. And today you get to pay attention to all those divine surprises that are always happening in your midst. And pay attention. Be careful, because if we get stuck in looking for God in only those big moments, well, we're going to miss all the small, ordinary moments. We're going to miss all the divine surprises along the way to the big moments. So I want to, just for a couple of minutes, I want to look at this story with you. It's about a prophet named Elijah. And we've talked about this story before, but I want to mention it again. Elijah, his story can be found, most of his story is found in this Old Testament book called 1 Kings. If you've ever seen Game of Thrones, well, that shows a lot like 1 Kings reads. It's a crazy book. Most of his story is told in 1 Kings. This is kind of cool. Elijah's name, because I love words and meanings of words, Elijah's name literally means Yahweh is God. Yahweh is another name for God, Old Testament, Hebrew language. Yahweh means God. Yahweh is God. Now, if your name means God is God and you're the main character in the story, just pay attention to that story. It's probably something's going to happen. Check this out. This is kind of cool. In the Hebrew language, Yahweh, which is another name for God, and there's a whole history there. It's the God who saves, the God who rescues. It goes all the way back to the time of exile. But in the Hebrew language, you might know they did not use vowels. They only used consonants. So it was 4 consonants for Yahweh. Yod, He, Vav, He. Now, say that with me. Yod, He, Vav, He. Okay, now put your hand up to your mouth and say it again. Yod, He, Vav, He. Do you feel your breath? Now, some scholars would come to you and say, no, you're doing it all wrong. You got to do it as you're breathing. And if your lips touch, you're doing it wrong. Check it out. Yod, Vav, Yod, He, Vav, He. Some scholars say even the name of God emulates breathing. So up until this point, things have been totally smooth sailing for Elijah. I mean, he's been killing it. He's a prophet. He's been doing these miracles. He's been like confronting the kings and the powers that be. He's been calling down lightnings from the heavens, and amazing things are happening. And then you get to 1 Kings chapter 19, and by this point, Elijah's had a rough ride. By this time, he is now suicidal, he's hungry, he's angry. Those two things are not good together. He's exhausted. He is convinced, he's paranoid that people are after him. Some of y'all know exactly what that's like. He's paranoid, and so he's holed up in this cave. And check it out. Oh, before I get there, let me just say, God tells him while he's in this cave, he's having a conversation with God. That's the way the scriptures record it. God says, listen, Elijah, my boy, I want you to go on top of that mountain in the presence of the Lord, Yahweh, because Yahweh is about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart. Great and powerful wind, ruach. A great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And I want you to understand something. When this story was being read in the ancient world, when it was being told and retold, it would have been a total showstopper. Because this story, in the first verse, it turns everything upside down. They would have been asking, what do you mean God is not in the wind? God is the wind. How can you say God is not in the wind? Ruah, spirit, breath of life, wind. Let's keep going. After the wind, there was an earthquake. But Yahweh was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper, Ruah. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? Now, let's just briefly recap this story. Elijah's on the run. He's paranoid. He's exhausted. He's hungry. All the bad things. He's at like this bottom in his life. And God tells him, listen, I want you to go stand at the top of the mountain. Come out of that cave that you've been holed up in because Yahweh's presence is going to be there. I'm about to pass by. And I want you to stand out there and be ready for this. And then a wind comes and Yahweh wasn't in the wind. And then an earthquake comes and Yahweh's not in the earthquake. And then fire comes and Yahweh's not in the fire. And God, where are you? And then a gentle whisper comes, and the Hebrew translates it as a thin blowing sound. A thin blowing sound. And Elijah, he's standing in the mouth of this cave, wide open. I imagine he's standing there like this because he's waiting for his big moment. He's waiting for his sure and certain word of direction. God, what do you want me to do in my life? He's waiting to get all the answers, and you're going to tell me what to do. And then the voice says to him, dude, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And imagine Elijah. Imagine what Elijah must have said in that moment. God, what do you mean, what am I doing here? Yeah, hello? You're the one who told me to be here. Do you remember? You said go to the mouth of the cave and Yahweh would be passing me by. And why would you tell me to do that, just to make fun of me? And Elijah, he's looking for the neon sign. He's looking for the thunder. And instead it's like a gentle whisper. And that whisper is a question. And this is very subversive Hebrew writing, by the way. Isn't it interesting? Go up on this mountain so you can have this divine experience, and the divine experiences of the divine saying to you, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Elijah, you can't run forever. You cannot escape your life forever. You cannot stay holed up in this cave forever. What are you doing with your life? And that is a God shot. That's the divine surprise. God is in that gentle whisper, the gentle ruah. Sometimes it's a rushing wind, and sometimes it's a gentle wind, and it's giving perspective to his life. This summer, may you slow down enough to pay attention. Maybe you need to get out of your familiar. Maybe if you have to. We have beautiful mountains here. Go to the top of a mountain. Go to the top of a mountain if that's what it takes for you to get some perspective. Get somewhere where you can quiet yourself enough so that maybe you can begin to hear the gentle whisper, the ruah, the breath of life. And maybe it's asking you a very simple and very difficult question at the same time. What are you doing with your life? Especially if you're at a point in your life where maybe you're looking for some direction. You're standing out there like, God, just give me the answer. Tell me what to do. Maybe you feel like you're at some sort of bottom in your life. Maybe you've got some decisions to make, and what are you doing with your life? And sometimes it's easier to hide. Sometimes it's easier to stay on the run. Sometimes it's easier to isolate and stay holed up in that cave, and it never works. What are you doing? What are you doing with this life that you've been given? What are you doing with that divine breath that is in you? It's in the breath you just took and the one you're about to take after that. And I know it's hard because we live in such a fast-paced culture, don't we? We live in this culture where we have phones and calendars on our phone, and then we have access to everything, and people have access to us, and there's always some place to be. There's always someone to impress, and you don't want to miss all those ordinary moments. The breath of life, the ruah, the divine surprises, the moments that catch you, and you can't always explain them, but you know there's more to it. And these moments, they in some way sustain you. These moments, they keep you going on a good path. God shots, divine surprises, they're everywhere. Are you paying attention? And I'll close with this. Do you know, on our second to last day in Hawaii, I was having another conversation with Danny, because that's what we did in the morning. And I said to Danny, I said, dude, you got to help me understand something. I don't understand what this word aloha is all about, because it's weird. Some people, they'll say it when they see you. It's like a hello, but then you walk away and they'll say aloha, and sometimes they just drop it in the middle of a conversation. And I don't know what to make of this word aloha, and when do I say it, and what does it mean? Does it mean hello or goodbye, or what's it mean? He says, Ryan, it's a great question. It means all of those things. And I said, well, Danny, that's kind of weird, dude, because in the English language, we have like hello and goodbye, and then we have in between words. And he says, Ryan, it means all of those things, but in the Hawaiian culture, it means way more. I said, Danny, I love words. Tell me what the way more is. He says, well, if you break it down, the literal meaning, alo is presence, and then ha is breath. And so aloha actually means the presence of breath, or breath of life. And I thought, how am I just now learning this fascinating fact? Presence of breath, or breath of life. And then he says to me, I know you guys are leaving tomorrow, and I have a gift for you. And I like gifts. So he said, come see me tomorrow morning before you leave. So Tammy and I walked down, we were talking to Danny, and I said, it was kind of awkward, because I'm like, Danny, well, we're here for the gift. Where's the gift? And he says, yes, I've got the gift. I'm going to bring it to you in just a moment. Just go sit by the ocean for a moment. So we sat by the ocean for a moment, and then Danny walks up, and I'm looking for the gift. The thing is, this kind of gift you couldn't hold or touch or see. You could only hear it. You could only hear his breath, the thing coming out of his mouth. And he sang us this song. And it was a 4-minute song, one of the most beautiful songs I've ever had sung to me. It was so beautiful, I want to sing it to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. He sang us a song, and I did find this song on YouTube. This song is called Spread a Little Aloha. So we're going to play this song. And y'all probably didn't know this. They have leis in Hawaii. You know those necklaces? What are they called? Necklaces? Are they necklaces? Leis? They're called leis. So we have a bunch of leis here tonight. And if during this song, Carrie and Tammy will be handing out some leis up here up front. If you need just a very simple reminder that you belong, because that's what leis mean. It's a sign of belonging. It's the biggest symbol they have there of the meaning of aloha, that you too participate. You belong in the breath of life, that you belong with God's breathing. You have that divine breath. You have that divine energy. So if you would like a lei during the song, you can come forward, and they'll give you one. And it's just a simple reminder to pay attention to all the ordinary moments, because they're happening everywhere. And these are God shots, divine surprises in your life. So during the song, if you want to come up and get a lei, now's your opportunity. And men, you can wear them too. I wore one all week. It's your opportunity. how we tried to navigate this conversation to make it the least awkward as possible. I mean, the word is lay, and we were just trying to figure out how to say this. And so anyway, if you didn't get one and you want one, well, you can grab one after the service. How about that? And if you're at home, you just got to go, what? I could have just left that alone. Well, we did. We spent a lot of time talking about how do we... Okay, now I made things awkward. I swore I wouldn't do it. All right, y'all, if it's your first time with us tonight, you should know that every single Saturday night we have a guest storyteller in the house with us to share some of their experience, strength, and hope with us. And tonight I can't wait for you to meet my friend Lindsay. You're going to hear some of the God shots and how she began to identify some of those God shots in her life and what that means in her life today, in a life of recovery. So would you help me welcome to the stage Lindsay Scott, ladies and gentlemen. Come on in. All right, Lindsay. She got the red one. Did anyone else get the red one?
I had to match.
You got the only red one in the house. How about that? All right, so let's just jump right into your story because I just told them that for you, there was this process to identify God shots in your life because when you got sober, you started out as an atheist. You identified as an atheist. Tell us the story.
Oh, yeah. I was raised a hardcore atheist. I had family that was all in academics for the most part, or business people. And, my brother was really into philosophy and whatnot. And his whole thing for us was, you can't call yourself an atheist unless you disprove all religions. And so we spent a lot of time, especially him, but I just wanted to be just like my big brother, dissecting different texts and dogmas and all of that stuff. And that's how I was raised, It was a very black and white. I did have a stepmother who was Catholic, but other than that, it was pretty atheistic. And I remember friends asking me, "What's your religion when you grow up?" And I was like, "What's that?" Like, before I even knew, because they didn't even tell me what religion was, I felt like, for quite a while, yeah. So I came into the program an atheist, a diehard atheist, and the first time that I saw the steps, I changed God in all of them. My therapist gave it to me, and she's like, "You might want to look at this." And I rewrote them without God in it, and I was like, "Can I share this with you?" And she was like, "Absolutely not. Like, I choose to go by the actual steps." And I was so offended, but at the same time, I was 19 years old, and I couldn't even consider myself an alcoholic.
So did you replace God with something, or you just scratched God out?
Yeah, so the first thing that I did was someone suggested to me that I insert love in replacement of God. And so I read all of the steps, and I did all of my work using love instead of God. However, when I got my second, or I guess third sponsor, and my sponsor who I've been with for over 3 years now, he was like, I don't care what we call it. I was kind of moving on from the love thing. I needed a bigger, higher power. And he said, how about G? What if we just use G? And G happened to be my friend that had just passed away from this disease in a really brutal way. And so that was kind of one of my first God shots, honestly. And I didn't know it as that at the time, but I was like, oh, I can pray to G. And that's how I started praying, was to my friend G.
G, like
G.
letter G.
His name's Gerard. He used to own Gerard's Pool Hall downtown, shameless plug.
All right. Okay, so then you had what you called a dark night of the soul.
Yes.
And where did that lead you? What happened?
Yeah, so there was, I drew my higher power from other people's as well. And so in meetings, I just started using the word God interchangeably for my higher power. And a lot of people were coming up to me, and this is like right before the dark night of the soul, going like, "I thought you were Christian." And I was like, "No, I'm not at all." But it was the way I was talking, because I could speak AA really well, but I didn't have those experiences, or I thought I didn't have those experiences. Yeah. And I went into a dark night of the soul where I was not happy, joyous, and free. I felt like God was nothing. In that section of the big book where it says, "What is your choice to be?" I changed my choice, and I was like, God is nothing. And I was distraught, and it was absolute... just really not a fun place to be.
Yeah. Very interesting. You first tried to take God out, and then you said God is nothing. And this all led you somewhere. So you said when you were 4 months sober, you had a really important God shot. So at some point in that 4 months, you started identifying it.
Yeah.
What was that?
It basically, when I had the dark night of the soul, I got from my uncle who has many, many years of sobriety, you know, he was kind of asking me, like, are you sure you haven't had these experiences, you know? Like, and so it was a challenge. I had to challenge myself to look back on the 1.5 to 2 years of my sobriety and go, how was I sober? How did this happen? And the most important God shot that I reflected back on to see that it was a God shot was giving my mom an amends when I was 4 months sober. And I rushed to California as soon as I was on step 9, literally told my boss, I'm getting on a plane and I'm gonna do 7 amends in 3 days. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, you know, like kind of worried about that. I didn't have the best relationship with my family and it was gonna be a lot. And so I gave my mom an amends, and less than a month later, she got diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And less than a month after that, while they were in New Zealand, she had a seizure. And she basically, her brain just, you know, reset. And 18 months later, she ended up passing. And when I was reflecting back on that, in that 1.5 to 2 years sober, feeling no God, I was like, I wouldn't have been able to give my mom an amends if I didn't have this, like, I was like compelled to go, even though people were like, are you sure about this? Like, you're young in sobriety, you can wait, like, write them out, you know, all of these things. And I was like, no, I have to go. And I just felt that, like, it was deep in my gut, which is where I feel God a lot now. And goodness, if I wouldn't have gone, I don't know if my mom would have gotten to hear my amends and let that sit in her body. And, you know, she had such a beautiful mind, and that the fact that I got to give that to her and got to make it okay was like, wow, maybe there was something looking out for me. You know, that wasn't just me.
Yeah, so was it this moment where you said, okay, this has to be more than a coincidence, this has to be more than just a thing that I ignore or forget about? What was it? What category do you put that in, if any category?
Yeah, normally everything is a coincidence for me. Every little tiny thing. And for this one, I was like, I don't know. I can't explain this. It's ineffable, right? Like, it is so out there for me and so specific for my sobriety. Like, if I wouldn't have been able to give that to her, I don't know if I would have stayed sober. And I'm being completely honest about that.
Yeah.
It probably would have cut me up so much, and I was so sensitive.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it would have happened differently if it was me.
Yeah.
And it didn't. It happened in this beautiful way that I can't quite articulate even.
And how do you see the God shots now? How do you see it?
So after the dark night of the soul and all that, and I reran an experiment on my higher power, and I found one of my personal understanding, not through everybody else, but through experiment, because I love logic. And now I see it, you know, God shots, what I would replace it with is like the universe winking at me. You know, it's saying like, hey, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of how I experience them now, as being held.
Yeah. And you said something very interesting when we were talking. You said you get to or have to choose to see them this way.
Yeah.
That you can choose to see it. I mean, y'all can do this. We could do this all the time. You can choose to see it as a coincidence in your life. You could choose to see it as nothing more than, that was kind of cool, and then move on.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to see it as the wink, the
Yes.
God shot, the divine surprise, whatever we call it.
Yeah.
So how do you choose that? What's that look like in your life?
You know, it really just is shifting that. It's as simple as it is a choice. Like, I get choices today. I have free will. I am free because of this, right? Because of this recovery that I spend so much time on. And so it's just a choice. Like, I like to get down with the mystic now. Like, that's how I see it. Because, like, honestly, like, it brings levity to some of these really difficult situations that I'm still going through. I mean, recovery doesn't mean life gets easier. It just means that we've got something on our side to get us through it. And, you know, I found a lot of these God shots seeing my mom at the end of her life. And when I went to go see her in New Zealand to say goodbye to her, and my stepdad didn't really want me there, or it felt that way at least. And I get into the Uber, and I'm so nervous to go to the airport. And this woman had a sunflower on the back of her neck, and that's my mom and I's flower. And I just was like, I felt held. Like, this is right. Your stepdad, that's his stuff, but this is what you need. This is what your mom needs. And like, you made the right choice. Keep going, you know?
Yeah, that's why I think it's so important to identify it, to actually name it, whatever you call it, but to name it, because what I noticed it does is it puts you in a state of gratitude. You just said, I felt held. So it's these moments that kind of sustain you when you're not really sure, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're a little hesitant, afraid. Like, these moments come along and they hold you, they sustain you, they give you some gratitude. What does it mean in your recovery today? How does it interact with your recovery?
How does what interact?
God
with
shots.
recovery?
These
God
God
shots.
shots. What
These
are they?
universal winks. Again, it's really just that I'm on the right path and that I'm held. Like, it's my sobriety is so simple, and God has to be so simple for me, because when I try to put God in a box, when I try to explain how these things work, like, it gets stressful for me, and I want to run away. And so instead, it's just there, and it's beautiful, and I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's how I see God shots, is just like, you can do another day. Like, if you got through this, if I got through the death of my mom and these God shots held me, you're going to get these in other times in your life where you're going to need to see them.
Yeah,
If
hold the
you
mic
look
up
out,
just a little
sorry,
bit.
if
Oh,
you
there
look
you
out for them. Oh, I have a very loud voice, actually. But if you look out for them, and I think that's the other thing, is I stayed in the rooms for about 2.5 years.
What are the rooms? What's the rooms?
The
I don't know
rooms,
what
the rooms of AA, so our meetings and all of that. I would go to 2 to 3 meetings a day, but what I realized is I was hiding out in AA because I was scared to live life. And when I went out and I started to live life and I started to experiencing things, like, that's where the God shots are. They're not in my apartment. Yes, they're in the rooms. I can see miracles and all that stuff, but the experience of God shots, like, is out there.
Yeah.
I got to go climb that mountain, you know?
Yeah.
I got to go to California. I got to go see my family. I've got to go to New Zealand and hold my mom's hand and sing to her for 5 hours and tell her, hey, you can pass. It's okay. You can let go, because no one was doing that for her. And guess what? She passed away that night. Like, just these things that, like, add up.
Yeah. So what would you say to, maybe not necessarily the atheist, but maybe the atheist, for someone saying, Lindsay, you know what, I'm great. I'm glad those things happen for you, great, but those things don't happen in my life. They just don't happen.
Yeah.
God's not in my life. God is inactive in my life.
Absolutely. A few things. Number one, the biggest thing that happened for me was my uncle telling me, run an experiment on God, because it's contempt prior to investigation unless you've tried stuff.
Yeah.
So in fact, I had to go, okay, for a whole year, while you do these steps, atheism is not a freaking thing, because it was killing me. My soul was sick. I needed something. You know? And so, like, I would just say, become agnostic, say I don't know, run an experiment. You know?
I love that. Run an experiment.
Run
on
an
God.
experiment. I've had to do it several times in my sobriety because, listen, I still have atheistic tendencies. It happened the other day before you asked me to share, where 3 hours and I was like picking at someone's higher power. It was not pretty.
Yeah.
And it still happens. But the turnaround now to, what are you doing? Where is this going to take you? I can tell you, nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay?
What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeking, because that's
Yeah.
all the book asks me to do. The book, the big book of AA, our Bible, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't say to find. It doesn't say to know. It doesn't say to convince others. It says to seek. And so that's what I do. I don't try to find. The more open I am, the more I don't know I am, the more I get to experience.
Yes, yes.
You know, I love being agnostic. Like, I don't want to have a dogma in a way. Like,
What does agnostic mean to you?
agnostic, agnostic means letting go to me.
Yeah.
Just not being so bound up in this head and this, you know, just ickiness of needing to be right, of needing to feel better than others. Like, I know something that they don't, and y'all are just following like these blind sheep, you know, lemmings, right? And now I'm like, no, like, that's not what this is.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to be a part of, like, I get to draw from other people's religions. I get to draw from other people's spirituality. Like, it's endless possibilities for me when I'm agnostic. But it doesn't mean that it's just higher power. Like, it's also God for me. Like, I believe, like, you know, I'm slightly godly. And
Yeah.
that sounds strange. I would have never been able to say that before. I couldn't even say the word God before.
Yeah, and I would even argue that's not to try to put you in a box, but that is deeply like part of the Christian tradition, the mystic tradition, the Gnostic tradition. I mean, this is so deep. the church did a great job at leaving all that behind. But man, when we left that stuff behind, we missed so much spiritual beauty.
Yeah.
But the mystic tradition is beautiful.
Exactly. Take away the humans, man. Seriously, like we're
Man,
the ones
you
who
said so many
screwed it up.
hashtags tonight. Take away the humans, man. What are you,
Take
some
away
sort of
them.
hippie?
A little bit.
All right, thank you for being with us, Lindsay. You're going to stick around, and y'all can talk to her. Thank you, Lindsay Scott. Beautiful, thank you. I'll take that from you. All right, y'all. Well, the way we close down here on a Saturday night is with what we call heartaches. It's kind of like celebrations, but it's the opposite. We start with celebrations, we close with heartaches. The hard things that you're carrying, the heavy things that you're carrying, the burdens that maybe you've been trying to carry alone, and then you find out you suck at carrying these things alone. It's why you have community. It's why you have a God who hears the cries of the people. So that's what this time is for. If you need some prayer, some encouragement, some lifting up, that's what this time is for. We take 3 minutes for it. David has a mic on this side. Amber has a mic on this side. And again, if you're online, you can drop your heartaches in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. We'll join with you there. Let's take 3 minutes.
My name is Weston, and a couple heartaches and one celebration. One heartache, I relapsed last Saturday, which was really difficult. Another heartache is I broke up with my girlfriend today, but a mini celebration is the reason why I got sober. Last Sunday, I just remembered why I got sober. And so I'm 5-6 days sober. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, Weston, we'll celebrate that, buddy. And I'm glad you're here, Weston.
Hi. Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Alexis. So I've lost a lot of people in my life, but there's an anniversary date of someone who meant the world to me, and it's a very hard trigger and day for me. His name was Anton Yelchin. He was a very good friend of mine, and I have a really hard time during grief, and so I just needed a moment of prayer from God and from everybody, because I'm having a hard time with that, and it's been years of this date passing, but the date of his death is coming up this month, and I have a hard time with that, just with the grief. So I just wanted to say that.
A long road. Prayers for you. Thank you for mentioning that tonight.
Hello, my name is Tyler, and I just would ask for some prayers for my buddy John. He just got out of rehab. I lost my buddy Jesse in December, and he finally got his head right, and we're both on the right track now.
Yeah. Glad for that. Prayers for them, man. Glad you're here tonight.
Right. My name is Miles. I'm first time here. My wife of 35 years and I today are divorcing. We're going through mediation, and it sucks.
Yeah. Miles, I'm glad you're here, and prayers for you, brother. Oh, David, right behind you.
Hi, my name's Candace. This is my first day here. I'm currently 33 days clean, and my heartbreak is losing my... It's been about a year, but I haven't spoke on it the whole time, so...
The heaviness
just
of grief.
losing my mom.
Prayers for you, and I'm glad you're here. And happy 33 days.
I recently lost I'm sorry, I'm Tom, and lost my sister after 16 years of fighting cancer a little over a week ago. But the good side of it is, on Christmas, she decided to follow the Lord. So I know where she is.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that, Tom, and prayers for you and your family. Thank you, Amber and David. David, you want to join me up here for a minute, dude? Come on up here, man. Green is your color. You look good in green. All right, you want to take the first one as we join our online people?
Yeah, Brianne Lubinsky, please pray for the Lubinsky family. We recently lost a good family friend, Wally, and my Nana was 97. We're all where we need to be, Ree versus Florida, New Jersey, but not all together as one family.
Yeah. Bram, prayers for you and the family, going through a lot. Jen says, I'd like to ask for prayers for my grandmother who is going through chemo, as well as my grandfather who has blockages in his heart and is too old to be operated on, as well as prayers for my dad dealing with all of this. Also asking for prayers for my brother's family as he just lost his grandmother and friends back home as a childhood friend just passed away. And Jen, that's a lot of loss, and lifting you and your family up and friends up during this time. Glad you're with us tonight.
Stephen says, please pray for all the children who have grandparents to love and care for them when their parents are not able.
Yeah. Prayers for them. Thank you for that, Stephen. Michelle says, I'm losing my health insurance, and it has uprooted my whole life. I now have to figure out how to afford health care to continue taking my mental health medication and find a job that can help cover that and care and all my bills. And Michelle, yeah, that's heavy stuff, and prayers for you, and I'm glad you're here tonight.
Melissa says, prayers for anyone going through depression or any mental health struggles. I have a close friend who needs extra prayers right now.
Lifting them up. Derek Bouillon, my friend and brother, heartaches for all those sick and suffering, trying to get well. I watched my brother die in the hospital early Monday morning and got a phone call today. A friend of mine tried to take his life today. And Derek, I've been thinking about you a lot this week, dude. Really grateful for you, and so sorry for your loss. Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, we've lost some good people in this community, as you all know. And I think it's why we must keep showing up. We must keep doing this work together. If you've been impacted by the mission of breaking the silence of addiction, well, we are funded by you, the people. People ask all the time, how do you guys keep this thing going financially? Well, we're funded by you, the people. And we're really grateful for your giving. It makes a big difference here. Even a little bit from a lot of people, that makes a big difference here. And I know some of you made that a part of your life, and it's a new part of your life, giving. And it just makes a huge difference here. Even if you don't give here, give somewhere, because giving changes you. And there's a lot of people in need. If you want to donate free, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can go to the app. It's free to download. You can go to the website, freerecoverycommunity.com. There's a giving button. You can give one time or set it up to be recurring. And there's giving boxes for those of you in-house just outside these doors. And there's the Kind kiosk just outside these doors on your right. It's the one tippy-tap system. You all know about it. You just tap it, and it's a fun way to give if you want to give that way. And for those of you online that have never been in this building, but you still call this place your home, you call us your people, your community, some of you give, and just know we're really grateful for that. It makes a big difference here, so thank you for being a part of it. Shall we go out with a prayer? Yeah, I would encourage you, invite you to just open up the hands. It's just a simple sign of openness. And take a big, deep breath. The ruah, the wind, the breath, the spirit is always flowing in your midst. Are you aware of it? Yeah. Stay aware this week, because it's happening everywhere. God is always on the move. If you don't know the St. Francis prayer, well, we'll pray it together. It's on your screen, and it goes like this. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Grace and peace to you. See you next time.